Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I have so much to get into today. I mean, I have two hilarious and disturbing things to do about the impeachment trial, some stuff about new pod Agenda 21 housing that's being rolled out, some stuff about a commercial that mixes pyramid and creepy old men with pizza. That's a mainstream commercial. But the theme of this video is that how sucky things are. Like, one of the signs of the apocalaughs is that everything is so sucky and there's no standard of getting fired for being stupid and dumbing things down and just sucking across the board. Like human beings collectively sucking, and the people who run the system sucking even worse. And so this is obviously happening. And let's start here with this T-Mobile Tom Brady commercial, which talks about the GOAT, T-Mobile claiming that they're the GOAT of internet service, but they're not the GOAT of advertising, because this commercial, it fails epically. I'm going to demonstrate how it fails. I mean, the acting's bad and all these things. It's a Tom Brady and Gronkowski commercial.
Gronk,
What up, TB?
what do you think my next move should be?
I got one word for you. Retirement. Tamp down the stress and amp up the relaxation, baby.
This isn't the point of putting this in the video, but it's just a really annoying, bad commercial. Rob Gronkowski is stupid. Tom Brady is stiff and stupid, right? So they won the Super Bowl, and this is always what happens, right? Advertisers want to be connected to winners, but these commercials, these athlete commercials, are always really bad. And this is one of the worst. But the reason I'm making this video comes at the end.
Retirement is like winning another championship. Maybe I'll even join you. If you retire now, you're gonna be walking on soft sand in a week.
On a spotty network, this is what Tom heard.
Tampa Bay and win another championship.
Tampa Bay.
Maybe I'll even join you. If you retire now, you're soft and weak.
So any commercial, there has to be a way of selling the product. And this one, T-Mobile is selling their product over the fact that there was spotty coverage, which, this is not how spotty coverage works, right? In terms of a video call. But they're saying T-Mobile has better coverage than lots of other networks. So this is their selling point, which they completely fail at. I'll show you why.
Go to Tampa Bay, win another championship.
Like it's that easy, Gronk. Maybe it is. And my goal is to bring a championship to Tampa Bay. And Gronk's coming with me.
So you can see they're setting up their failed premise here, which is Tom Brady decided to go to Tampa Bay based on a crappy coverage on a video call where he asked advice of Rob Gronkowski, which in the history of life has never happened.
Mom, where are my football pants?
Don't trust big decisions to just any network. Go with T-Mobile, the GOAT in 5G.
So this is, this is a common mistake you see now, where the advertisers set up a premise and try to sell you on something, but they suck so bad at it, it's actually the reverse of what they're saying ends up being true. And so the first part of this is, their premise is that T-Mobile is the GOAT of cell phone coverage. They have the most extensive network. They have the best cell phone coverage out there. And they're riding in on these coattails of Tom Brady being the GOAT. Tom Brady's the GOAT of football and athletes, and they're the GOAT of cell phone coverage, right? And so that's their premise. But their big reveal is, don't trust big decisions to any network. And what they say is, don't trust this decision to a faulty network. You have a big decision to make, whether you're going to retire or not. But instead of using T-Mobile, he used a faulty network, Tom Brady. And in his epic conversation with Gronk, he got this faulty information that told him to go to Tampa Bay and win another Super Bowl. And so they just proved the opposite. What they said was Tom Brady won a Super Bowl. I mean, this is the context of the commercial. This is the meat of the commercial. Tom Brady won another Super Bowl and went to Tampa Bay because of some messed up coverage. So you should trust big decisions to spotty coverage. That's what they just showed you. Because if he was using T-Mobile, he would have gotten Gronk's clear message, which was to retire. And he would have retired. But instead of using T-Mobile, he made a decision based in a faulty network, which is, again, the reverse of the premise of the commercial. And that Tom Brady, who's the GOAT, uses faulty networks. Like, he doesn't use T-Mobile. So that's the opposite of what you want to portray here, is like a double suck. Like, it's one of those rare double sucks you get in advertising where they're undercutting their message in two different ways. But they're saying here is that this spotty coverage led to what was probably the best football decision of Tom Brady's life. Because according to the official story, Tom Brady always won Super Bowls because he had a brilliant head coach in Bill Belichick. Tom Brady was never the best quarterback because he's not mobile. He can't move. He's like probably the slowest quarterback in the history of the game, right? But he was somebody that's a game manager. He can throw the ball well. He can throw the ball accurately when he's not pressured, but he's not the best quarterback. And for years, everyone said it was between him and Belichick. Belichick made him great. And by winning the Super Bowl, Tom Brady has separated himself from that. And so this was a great decision on his part. And so they undercut their whole message. And this isn't like the only time this happens in commercials. It happens all the time, where the commercial itself proves the opposite point of what the product is trying to sell. And you would think that kind of level of sucking. Plus, they're trying to claim to be the GOAT. But how can you be the GOAT when you have such poor advertising, stupid advertising? You understand this? Because this is going to go across the board. I'm going to show you how sucking is rewarded, how being stupid is rewarded. Plus, it's an insult to the audience. Because what they're saying is, we don't think you're smart enough to figure out that our commercial's ass backwards, right? You understand this? Like, is it the poor advertising, or is it just because people are so stupid it doesn't matter anymore? Like, it just doesn't matter. And you can suck as much as you want to suck, and it still doesn't matter. And so let's go to the Trump impeachment thing. So I have two things to cover here about the impeachment, about how bad things suck, how bad people suck, at their job or just in life or being human beings, and how dumb everything is, how dumb everybody is, how stupid everything is. So the first thing is the impeachment hearing montage. So I searched this, I Googled this, right? And you have no mainstream media covering the epic montage. The highlight of the trial was the montage. It destroyed the Democrats' case. It made them look hypocritical. And I thought, well, how is the mainstream media going to cover this? And really, they didn't for the most part. I'll show you a Jake Tapper CNN clip at how, sucky they covered it. It's hilariously bad. But the mainstream media, for the most part, pretended it didn't happen. They didn't give it any play. They just pretended that epic montage. And again, I'm not a Trumper. I've always said I like Trump as a character in the show, but his character arc, the way he went out, was sort of sad and pathetic. I mean, he went out as somebody who didn't deliver. He didn't deliver on his promise. He didn't make America great again. He made America worse. No question about it. He made the world a worse place. I mean, one of the things in the heartfulness system is the second master of the system, Babaji, said, the least you can do, the very least of your accomplishments of doing the heartfulness meditation is that you should at least leave the world a better place than it was. No matter what your successes are in terms of liberation, liberation from your succession of lives here on planet Earth, or merging with God, the two goals, at the very least, you should make the world a better place. your life should make the world a better place than when you came in. And so that's not happening with most people. I mean, that's the minimum goal of a human life, to leave the place better than you found it. And how many people can you say are leaving the world better than they found it? They added to the world. They made it they made life on planet Earth better in so many different ways for other people or creatures or whatever it is. And, clearly the mainstream media and these people aren't. So here's it is, Sean Hannity mixtape, Tapper reacts to lawyers montage. And this is the only mainstream media that I saw who used the word montage in the headline, and they all dismiss it, right? They all dismissed it, and it was epic.
The inflammatory rhetoric from our elected officials must be considered as part of the larger context of Mr. Trump's speech at the Ellipse on January 6th.
So the one good thing they do here is they actually play a piece of it, which kind of is a mistake. They don't play the whole thing or even parts of the whole thing, but they play a significant piece right here, and then they're going to comment on it. Oftentimes, what you see is only their commentary, because they don't want you to see the truth of what happened, and they only show you a part of it, and then you get to their commentary, and their commentary is the story. Because if you don't see it for yourself, which is a mistake for them show any part of it, because if you don't see it for yourself, your opinion is going to be based in the commentary of a skewed bunch of reporters at CNN or whatever network. But they make the mistake of showing some of it, which makes it even worse, because now they've shown you something and you have your own reaction, and then they give their commentary, but you already have formed an opinion, and their opinion is so sucky. Let's just get through it here.
The inflammatory language from both sides of the aisle has been alarming, frankly. But this political discourse must be considered as part of these proceedings to contextualize Mr. Trump's words. We have some video to play that highlights some of what I'm talking about. I preface this video by noting I am not showing you this video as some excuse for Mr. Trump's speech. This is not whataboutism. I am showing you this to make the point that all political speech must be protected.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
You got to be ready to throw a punch. You have to be ready to throw a punch.
Donald Trump, I think you need to go back and punch him in the face.
That I thought he should have punched him in the face.
Feel like punching him.
I'd like to take him behind the gym if I were in high school. If we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him. No, I wish we were in high school, I could take him behind the gym.
I will go and take Trump out tonight.
Take him out now.
Okay.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
They're still going to have to go out and put a bullet in Donald Trump.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
And you push back on them, and you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
Please, get up in the face of some Congress people.
People will do what they do.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
This presentation was very partisan. It was a Sean Hannity mixtape.
Is that what you're going to lead with, right? It was very partisan, and it was a Sean Hannity mixtape. Of course it's partisan. This was a whole partisan thing. This was the Democrats presenting a case about the, Trump inciting this riot and why it was impeachable, and it was completely partisan. The whole impeachment process, both of them were partisan. And so the defense, which is representing Trump, had to show that the Democrats do the same thing. And that's what this montage did. It showed the Democrats use the same inflammatory language, and even worse, where they were saying they wanted to punch Trump in the face, many of them. They were inciting violence towards Trump, their president of the United States. and they incited other things like the protests. And it goes into the montage shows that the Democrats whined about the 2016 election and whined about the electronic voting machines and all these things. So it shows that all the things that Trump was being accused of doing, because this whole debacle of a impeachment trial was based 100% on what Trump's rhetoric was and what he was saying that incited what ended up being the riots on Capitol Hill. And they know it rocks. They know it. They accomplished their goal because this is their criticism. You can see that they, instead of just coming out and said, yeah, the opposition landed a blow here. But they're so partisan. CNN is so partisan. They're so anti-Trump. They can't say, yeah, this was kind of epic. Like, it sucks, but it was, right? That this thing landed. It destroyed the Democrats' case. And the media didn't cover it. They didn't, come out and say, yeah, like, it sucks. We're all Democrats, and this thing was pretty epic, right? Because it was. Like, whether you hate them or love them, they delivered. Like, I thought they were a bunch of, not good lawyers from the first day. And their statement, they look like chuckleheads. This is an embarrassing law team. But someone put together an epic montage. And, and to think about this, that Sean Hannity, to say Sean Hannity style montage, if Sean Hannity can destroy your argument, because Sean Hannity sucks and he's a dope. So if Sean Hannity can destroy your argument, then your argument sucks, right? If Sean Hannity effectively can put together a montage to destroy your argument and show that you're a hypocrite, then your argument sucks because Sean Hannity's no rocket scientist.
Mixtape, I think they actually took from some things that Sean Hannity and others at Fox have made and just added to it on the floor.
And just to underline that point,
yeah,
have Democrats said stupid things?
Of course.
And used bellicose language that they should not have said. I think the use of the word fight is a little overwrought to criticize specifically fight without the idea of context. But sure, Leader Schumer's comments in front of the Supreme Court about reaping what you sow or reaping the whirlwind, that wasn't smart.
No,
that was dumb.
That was.
Was it followed by physical attacks on Brett Kavanaugh or Neil Gorsuch?
See, they're doing damage control for the Dems because the reality is that the Capitol Hill riots, the Capitol Hill breach of the Capitol Hill, didn't result in any congressperson, senator, or Vice President Pence being attacked. Not one of them was attacked. You understand this? There's people who died, there's people who were injured, but they were police and other people or the protesters themselves. But no violence was done to any member of the, any political member that was targeted. And Trump didn't say anything violent towards the people, towards Pence or any of these other people on Capitol Hill, the Democrats. He didn't say he wanted to punch him in the face. He didn't say anything like that. These intentions that were said by Democrats and celebrities and people, they put out violent intentions towards Trump and Republicans. And so they're doing damage control, saying, well, yeah, Democrats said some bad things, but this is the difference. The difference is it didn't result in a Capitol Hill riot. Oh, no. Well, what about the Republican National Convention where these rioters, whatever they were, Antifa, came to Washington, D.C., and Rand Paul was in his car. He got attacked. They tried to attack him and get into his car. They did property damage. All these Antifa riots across the country. So the Democrats did the same behavior. And so what this guy did with his montage, what Trump's defense team did with their montage is say, if you're going to impeach Trump for his words, then you have to do the same thing to the Democrats because they're doing the same behaviors.
No, it wasn't. And by the way, I don't remember the last time Madonna or Johnny Depp ran for office.
Impeach.
What? That's what your defense is? See, this is they're nitpicking because they just got their asses handed to them, right? The Democrats just got exposed for being hypocrites, and they're finding little details. They included Johnny Depp and Madonna, so therefore the whole thing is bogus. Those are two actors. Those aren't Congress people. Those are actors. Well, that's an actor and a sort of a singer. Madam Expiration Date and Johnny Depp's. They're not. See? They're not in public officials. The whole thing doesn't work, you know? The thing rocked, right? And you got rolled. Your Democrats got rolled, and you're the Democrats' mouthpiece. It shows you how partisan you are, how embarrassing you are as journalists, that you're defending something or you're trying to minimize the success of this montage.
And those were really stupid things to say, no matter how you feel about their music or their acting, but it's completely irrelevant to what we're talking about now.
No, it's not, because it's actually the heart of the Democrats' case. The heart of the Democrats' case was that Trump, and some extent, the social media, right? Social media and Trump, and maybe a little bit Fox News, or Fox News as well, inflamed Trump's stupid base to act violently and say violent things online. And so you have a couple of prominent Democrats who are supposed to be, you know, in the know, Hollywood celebrities, A-list Hollywood celebrities, very famous, Madonna and Johnny Depp, throwing out very violent threats about killing the president and blowing up the White House. And these people have been inflamed by the Democratic officials and media, and the left-leaning media, so that they have this opinion of Trump. And so they're putting out this idea of acting violently. And I've said over and over again, everything is, you know, starts inside yourself, right? For the heartfelt meditation that I do, that your inner world is key. The inner world is what they're going after now. I mean, that's what they're doing when they say pre-crime. They're trying to get into people's inner worlds and punish them for what they think and believe. And so the inner world of the Democrats is just as violent, and even more so, you know, with the rhetoric from these celebrities. If you're going to deplatform people, why wouldn't you deplatform Johnny Depp and Madonna for putting out these violent ideas, some of which was manifested into left-wing leaning rioters, Antifa riots. And so it has everything to do with the Democrats' case. The Democrats' case is saying that all this inflammatory stuff that Trump pushed out there inspired his followers to first start posting violent stuff on the internet and then to act on it. And that's illustrated by Johnny Depp and Madonna. You know, and you could bring in Kathy Griffin that showed Trump's severed head, right? And again, no violence was done to these people. No violence was done to any of the people on Capitol Hill that were prominent Democrats. See, the behaviors are the same. That's the whole point. The behaviors are exactly the same. Trump was behaving just like the Democrats were.
The one other thing I will say on just overall on the reaction that I'm getting just on text from Republicans, from some conservative lawyers, is that they did better than they did the first day. The bar was pretty low.
I mean, what would they have?
Then they mock and laugh at him. This is their, they were, you know, they did so poorly on the first day. Yeah, they sucked. I agree with you. I was like, oh my God, this is Trump's legal team. Didn't matter because they didn't have the votes. This is, you know, all of this is irrelevant, right? And I'm going to say that's the big piece of this sucking, because it was irrelevant. But they knocked it out of the park. This was a huge win for them. It was the biggest thing from the whole impeachment, because it was covered by everybody, right? And so all this media that blocks out, the mainstream media that blocks out the other side of the story, blocks out the Republican side of the story. And I'm not a Republican. I'm not, you know, I'm beyond that, right, with the left-right paradigm. But in terms of the mainstream media, they don't acknowledge that the other side has any valid point of view. And everybody saw the hypocrisy that watched it. Lots of people watched it. It was definitely the thing that had the most energy, but they're trying to dismiss it. Well, you know, it was a little better. You know, no, it was great. Like, just admit it, right? Just open up and admit it. It was great. It was hilarious.
Have to do to have it be worse?
Drool.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
partly because they kept repeating the same video over and over again, presumptively to use up more of their time. But I mean, I don't know how many times you can play, you know, a montage of people using the word fight in all kinds of contexts that are completely irrelevant to the argument at hand.
In fact, it's completely relevant, because Trump said, let's go up to Capitol Hill and fight. He also said, let's march up there peacefully, because he used the word peacefully, which the Democrats never showed. And so they took his stuff out of context, and they're saying that this montage took things out of context. But their whole case was based in Trump's language. And they played it over and over again of him saying, go up to Capitol Hill and fight. That was one of their smoking gun, tying his words to what happened. That he shouldn't use words like fight because it might result in actual fighting. That was the premise of their whole impeachment case. And this montage obliterated it by showing, I don't know, maybe it was a couple hundred, probably like 500 different ways that different Democrats and some Democrat celebrities said the word fight or showed a, violent rhetoric. And so it completely obliterated the Democrats' case. Their whole case was predicated on Trump's language, so it showed that this was common language, and that's not impeachable, or you have to impeach everybody. That's what the montage did. And these, reporters are like, it's like somebody who just got their ass kicked, and they're like, well, you only knocked me out for a minute. It didn't really hurt. No, just admit that they beat you, right? They won. Because this is the part of the movie. Like if you're watching some movie where the heroes and the side of justice has no chance of winning, and there's some angry, bitter person who has been hurt in their life, right? But deep down they have a soft heart, and then something happens where their heart opens up, like the Grinch who stole Christmas. There's this moment, when the Grinch saw the people singing, all the Who's and Whoville singing, and he said, and his heart grew 3 times that day, right? And so there's these moments in movies where there is a moment of truth, a revelation, and this revelation usually changes the bad people, or at least changes the, everybody else to go against the bad person, right? You see this time and time again in movies. And whenever I see that now, I always, especially when it has to do with politics or the law, I say, when I'm watching a movie or a TV show with my wife, I'm like, that doesn't happen in real life. Because that montage was that moment. That montage was a moment, and there was a few, groans and stuff from the collective when they watched it. Because the Democrats could easily see, there's no shame in them or embarrassment. And you can say the exact same thing for the Republicans. Like the Republicans could have done the same thing, impeach somebody, and that montage could show them up, show them for their hypocrisy, show that they had no case, right? That they behave exactly like Trump. They were saying the same things against Trump. The behaviors were the same. The language was the same, all these things. And that's the point of it. And they should say that, yeah, you're right. We suck just as bad as you do. Because this is what Fox News does. This is what MSNBC and CNN do in their different, for their different size. And for the politicians themselves, they never admit they're wrong. They never say, all right, you're right. There should be change and movement when some information comes about. And they should admit, hey, we are exactly like Trump. That should have been the revelation from the montage. That's just limited. Republicans who watch it and Trumpers watch it say, oh, wow, we just got the Democrats. And I went a step deeper and said, well, this is a condemnation of all politics. And it shows you, in terms of the depth of your perception, that the word fight shouldn't be used. When people are going to work and fighting all the time, and again, this isn't some, in-depth analysis. I mean, I just take things a little bit deeper than the average truther, and certainly deeper than the mainstream media, but you can go even deeper still, right? And that's how sucky they are, how superficial they are, because as reporters, as people who are reporting on what you just saw, they're supposed to be giving you an objective opinion on what you just saw. And what you just saw in this montage was the Democrats' case getting destroyed. And they're acknowledging it by saying, well, it wasn't as bad as their first day performance, but there are some little nitpicky details that we're going to laugh at because we're not going to admit that we just got rolled, that we just got shown up, that our impeachment is ridiculous. And what's even more sucky, right? See, they should be fired. These guys shouldn't be on TV because they just showed they are completely partisan. They are completely subjective. They are doing hit pieces just like Fox does for the right, for the establishment Republicans, just like everybody does And that new information comes in and you don't have the ability to change. You don't have the ability to change your opinion based in new information, based in a epic montage, an epic movement of truth that shows you your case as a joke, and you just got rolled. And you would say, yeah, they got us. They got us. They outplayed us. They showed us up. That was good. We look like fools. Like, they won't do that. This is their moment to do that. And as journalists, they should be fired. If they had real editors and real journalistic integrity, they would quit, all of them. Like, the whole staff would just be like, oh, we suck so bad. It's just that kind of an ass kicking, right? Oh, we suck at our job. We're just horrible at our job. We're horrible people, right? I mean, that's what they should be saying, that they're not doing their job. The reporters aren't doing their job. The politicians aren't doing their job. And more to the case, it didn't affect the outcome. I'm going to get into the outcome later, but it didn't affect the outcome, which was Trump was going to be acquitted. Nothing that was said during this whole, kangaroo court or whatever you want to call it was going to change the outcome because it was completely partisan and he didn't have the votes, which is like, well, why do we even have politicians? If, new information can't change people's opinions and people can't switch from the left to the right on some position. And again, the Republicans that voted against Trump, they were doing it for their own political, what they consider their political best interest. And so if you can't vote for the truth, which was, yeah, Trump was sucky in lots of ways, but what he did is just what everybody else does. And I said this over and over again. During the first impeachment or the second impeachment, Trump isn't the Messiah. Trump isn't some good guy. He's a flim-flam man, and he was somebody who didn't act presidential, and it pissed all these people off, and the media and other politicians, including his fellow Republicans. They all were kind of pissed at him, and when they got a chance to take him out, they did so. But the reality of the situation was he was more of a human being, and he was more authentic than all these other fakers, all these other sham politicians that use this language. I mean, they don't fight for anybody but themselves. I mean, that's the other piece to this. Fight, 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 as they line their pockets with special interests. And so nothing changes anything on D.C. No information is going to change the position because they've been bought and paid for. All these politicians have basically three things they care about. Number one, it is appeasing their masters. It's doing the bidding of the people that control and own them, their handlers. And so that's job number one. Job number two is to maintain their brand. It would be job number one to maintain their brand, but sometimes their masters want them to do something that hurts their brand, and they do it. So that's why that's job number one. Because if they have a choice between keeping their brand the way they want it or doing what the bidding of the people that own them, they'll always do what the people that own them want. And job number three is to cover those first two things up and pretend that they're working for the people. And so there's no reason to have politicians. You might as well just have the corporations, bankrolling and putting money on one side or the other, and whoever gets the most money gets the law their way, and have that money go to the government, right? Have the, two opposing sides raise money and have no politicians, right? You don't need politicians. And they pass laws based in whatever amount of money is there to pass the law, right? And then what you do is you just take that money and put it back into the government. At least there'll be, get rid of some of the debt. Because the politicians are basically not human beings anymore. And the media is the same way. The media doesn't do anything or say anything unless it goes along with their pre-scripted narratives that they're given to by their handlers. And that's how, the narrow bandwidth that they're allowed to talk about. They never speak the truth. Even if they have a moment of conscience, they don't say it. Even if they knew that this thing destroyed, they knew this montage, anybody who saw it knew it destroyed. I mean, if you were going to be objective, it destroyed the Democrats' argument. But they can't say that. And so, why have media or politicians when they aren't capable of changing based in information? They're not able to be affected by the truth, right? If you can't change and be affected by the truth, if you can't change your position when you have a realization or an epiphany then why are you even alive, right? Why are you even a human being? Because the whole point is being able to change your beliefs based in new information and maturity and seeing things a different way, especially when it's a moment of, bringing people together. Because when you realize that the left and the right are exactly the same and they both suck, right? But where we are right now, see, when I grew up, this wouldn't, the montage, it wouldn't even be this bad, right? It's gotten so partisan. The media's gotten so partisan. The Democrats and Republicans hate each other so much. And Trump just exposed all these things that, when I was a kid, this would never be this bad. As corrupt as it was before, it's way more corrupt now. And the point of this video is that you can suck this bad as reporters and politicians and still retain your job. Sucking no longer means you get fired. In fact, sucking appears to be good. And people are so stupid and dumbed down that they accept all these things. They're so controlled and so pacified. And this is everything you need to know. But let's go. There's more. I got more here.
The outlook.
This is an epic fail by Little Caesar. So it starts off with Big Pizza being in the capstone of the pyramid. Big Pizza, right? And we all know there's pizza stuff in the truther community and other places where there's suspicion about pizza and people in the capstone. And so it starts off by literally making this connection in a commercial to sell pizzas.
For overpriced pizza has never been better. I mean, who's going to stop us?
Who's going to stop them? These are a bunch of old capstoners, right? People sitting in the boardroom of the capstone of the pyramid, and they're about to eat pizza, and who's going to stop them? This is literally the message they're putting out there.
But, sir, Little Caesars has the lowest price pizza delivered, guaranteed.
So if you disagree or tell the truth in the boardroom, you get sent down to hell, right? You get kicked out of the capstone of the pyramid.
Price is one thing. Taste is another.
My word. So what you see here is you have these rich, creepy, old guys moaning orgasmically. That guy's sitting at the top of the capstone of the pyramid. That's the Illuminati eye behind him, right? The eye of the pyramid. You can see where he's sitting is up there. There's a window up there. That's where he is, right above Big Pizza. Where it says Big Pizza, this guy's sitting right above that, inside of that pyramid. That's their boardroom up there. And what they just showed you was a bunch of creepy old guys eating pizza and moaning orgasmically, like having a sexual experience of pleasure while eating this pizza. Now, if you understand the pizza narrative, the negative pizza narrative that so many people in the truth community have, the association with pizza, with some creepy behaviors of these type of people, these people who are sitting in the capstone of the pyramid, whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. This is people who you want as customers believe this. And you've just, infuriated them. I mean, your job as advertisers is to bring in as many people as possible. I mean, that's how it's supposed to work, right? You want a larger customer base, and you're just confirming something in this, commercial that is going to tag your Little Caesars brand with negative pizza, New World Order, capstone of the pyramid, Illuminati stuff, right? I mean, this is an epic fail, an epic suck commercial.
Is another.
My word.
That's not good.
We're not Big Pizza.
See, what we have now is people are rewarded for sucking. That shows you, where we are in terms of the apocalaughs, where you can suck and you can treat your audience as being stupid. I mean, that's, part of this is the audience is just so remedial in their ability to analyze things that they can get away with sucking. I mean, this is more of a condemnation of the human condition right now, because you could show this video where I do a good job of just destroying all this stuff, and I got a bunch more to come. Like, it's just weird and all these things. And it wouldn't change a thing. I mean, I've known this for a while. Yeah, maybe a few people here or there, but it wouldn't have changed the material world. And that's why I say there's only a spiritual solution. I mean, it's part of the heartfulness system philosophy and it's part of the teachings, but I've experienced that in real life, that people aren't going to change. And most people are just going to march down this path until the system collapses, and then they're just going to give up, right? They're going to quit. They're not going to have it in them to deal with a post-apocalyptic, a post-collapse type of situation. It's because people are being rewarded for sucking. Some other like epic things to come here, but let's just finish up on this impeachment thing. So Senate votes to acquit Donald J. Trump's. Under Trump's thumb, broken GOP threatens American democracy. Key takeaways with acquittal. Trump wins battle for the Republican soul. After acquitting Trump, McConnell slams him for disgraceful dereliction of duty. 7 Republicans find Trump guilty of inciting Capitol riot. They explain their vote. And so all of this is just a sham. Because the video, the montage, exposed that everyone does what Trump did. Not that what Trump did was right. I'm not saying that because I've said it over and over again. Like, it just exposed Washington, D.C. and these politicians, like I said earlier in the video, as just sucking. Suckiest sucks that ever sucked, right? They're horrible, and most people know that. And so they wasted all this money and they did this stupid, charade. It's just a show. And the votes were already pre-decided. The 7 Republicans that voted with the Democrats and the Republicans that voted with the Democrats either had some kind of issue with Trump, or they had broken away from Trump, or their support system, it was better for them as a politician to vote for impeachment. But the impeachment wasn't what it was supposed to be. And that is, our justice system is predicated on merit and whether you're guilty or not. And Trump wasn't guilty of the charges that they labeled him with in terms of the impeachment. He wasn't guilty. He was more guilty, the first one, than this one. Either someone's guilty or not, but that had nothing to do with the outcome. It had nothing to do whether he was guilty or not. It only had to do with being a partisan display. And so guilt doesn't matter anymore, right? Because you're not going to convict an innocent person, and you're not going to let a guilty person go free. That's what these things are supposed to be about, whether the person did it or not. And that doesn't matter anymore because Washington, D.C. sucks, right? And that montage should have affected people because it actually destroyed the Democrats' case. But for 7 Republicans, they didn't care. And for all the Democrats, they didn't care.
You're looking at the world's first living robots. That's right, these micro machines are in fact brand new programmable life forms that researchers believe could help clean microplastics from our oceans.
Yeah, I'm sure they're going to be used only for good. But these are our xenobots, an eerie new kind of programmable organism. And it's frog DNA mixed with technology. And so, yeah, that's that. They're now mixing biology with technology. And that's going to end well, because of course it does. This isn't the beginning of some science fiction horror movie. This is a wonderful thing. And I'll come back to that because let me show the rest of these things, and then I'll come back to this idea of what they're doing here technologically. And then there's this. Young people are choosing to live in pods instead of apartments. This is Agenda 21. You see all these people. They have their own little beds here, and then they have common area here. There's no privacy. I mean, I suppose they can put a blanket here and deprive themselves of oxygen, but there's no privacy. You have women and men together, and you're sleeping with all these people. Like, you're asleep around all these people. Like, for women, I mean everybody, but women specifically, you have all these guys around you, and you're asleep, and you're, completely vulnerable and open here. I mean, how is this a positive thing? Why is this something that we need less space, right? There's no private area. You're just this Borg, this collective. The original cows that we bought years ago was from this commune. We lived near this commune called Twin Oaks, which is in Virginia. It's one of the first intentional living communes in the country. It's based in Skinnerism, behaviorist theory. I believe it's Skinner. Might be something else, but I'm pretty sure it's Skinner. It's based in some psychologist theory. And what they do is they always have 100 people there, and people come and go. And when you come in there, you have to give up all your worldly possessions. I mean, you can leave them outside and return to them, but you got to come in and be completely broke like everyone else. So everyone who lives in the commune has the exact same amount of money. They all get the same money. And they have a bunch of cows. They have neat cows that they do milking. You know, they sell milk. And they have the cows, the leftover cows, they eat as beef. And they have this epic garden. And they sold, they made as a product hammocks. And they would make hammocks or they would, and each person would have a task. And so I asked one of the guys who brought the cows over, I said, was it like living there? And he goes, it's like being married to 100 other people, because this is what you have in this living space, right? And then, think about just having one spouse, but then having 100 of them, right? And all these people have the same, whatever placement and rights, and the same amount of space, and they're all together. And this is what they're selling as the future. Like, this is what human beings have to evolve into. And this isn't, this is just everyone having to agree on everything. You can't have disputes or these things. You have to have everyone pretending to be nice all the time and doing what they can to make this work, right? Because, it doesn't work. There's no way this should work. Sexy as hell, PVC-clad models clutch demonic dolls and sprout devil's horns in bizarre Chinese walkway show that is the stuff of nightmares. This is what they got going here. Well, that's cool. Nothing wrong with that. Little blood on the hands, a nice touch there. Then, that's not creepy. That person isn't scary at all. A couple babies. There you go. That and little blood on the hands, they all got it. This isn't, that's completely cool right there. That's wonderful. And then the hands, if you're going to have heads, you got to have hands. Come on, what, you're going to just have one of them? Then there's this GIMP-like photo. Rose is a nice touch. Britney Spears and her roses, and Justin Bieber and his roses. And these guys, that's not creepy. They're working it. Couple of twins, again with the bloody hands. And so there's that. I don't know what that is. Definitely not as creepy, but still creepy. And then there's all of them together. And side view. So you got to see the side view to really understand the beauty and the excellence of this thing. Here are the pictures here as a whole. The rose, the devil's horns, the twin babies, these guys. So I really don't have to say anything here because this is people sucking, people being rewarded for sucking. And then you merge that in with them having, or us having, human beings having the ability to merge biology with technology. We're making biological robots, messing around with all kinds of things, nuclear bombs. You go across the board of the technology, the level of technology we have, and the level of morality, the level of our character development, the level of who we are as human beings, our ability to see truth, our ability to be functioning people. We suck as a species. And you can see it across the board. I made a video about the Super Bowl, and it got a lot of viewers who are not truthers, people who are not familiar with my channel. And across the board, it was people who were liking Tom Brady or were Tampa Bay fans or football fans in general who didn't believe that the game was rigged. People who were against Tom Brady or Kansas City Chief fans, and people who thought that all sports are rigged. And so they decided to tell me, what are you talking about, dude? You don't even know the half of it, right? People who are in the know, but they're all sheeple. Like a whole bunch of sheeple watch that video, and the comments are depressing. I've made these types of videos before, and people will say this all the time. Oh, you're just a salty Kansas City Chief fan. Oh, you're just a salty Saint fan, right? Which, of course, I'm not. Like you guys know. I kind of watch football and sports now. Don't follow it like I used to because of being a truther. And, it's sports. And so once in a while I cover this stuff because I pay attention to it and I watch it as entertainment. But I see things that are truther narratives in it. But when I get in contact with people who aren't even remotely like truthers or aren't conscious or awake at all, it's depressing. So people, you think about all this stuff that's being presented, all the things I presented here, and the way that they are marketing these things, these commercials, these things to do with the impeachment, the way they're selling it to the people, they think people are passive and dumb and they can do anything they want. They no longer have to have any standards of quality control. And so this is a condemnation of the human species, certainly of America and Americans. And so if you think about all that and then the technology and things we're messing around with, well, of course there needs to be an apocalypse. Of course the system human beings have to be stopped because we're literally getting stupider and weaker and more immoral and disconnected from God and away from what it is to be a natural human being with a heart and a conscience and empathy and love and connection to the divine. And at the same time as we're de-evolving, we're evolving technologically. And that's a horrible thing. Like, we're sucking worse and worse, and we're getting better instruments and tools in which to do damage to ourselves and the universe and the planet. And so, yeah, that's why the system's collapsing, right? That's why I say, there has to be a change of what people are within. Because when you become a spiritual person, you start to have a conscience. When you're meditating, when you do the heartfulness system, you start to see through your own BS. You start to see through your own rationalizations because you're looking within and you're connected to God. And some of your, defenses are taken down, get cleaned away. And you start seeing yourself as what you are, like not a good person, because that's pretty much everybody. And you see what you need to improve. And that's the whole point of being here on planet Earth, to, not indulge your ego and your own BS and believe in your own hype, believe in your own marketing about yourself, your own brand, which is what all these people do, and ignore the truth of what you are. But instead, you're changing and becoming a better person, and you're confronting your flaws, and you're growing, and you have to get better. It's not the end of the world. It's not like you're perfect. Like so many people think they are, and they're so fragile, they can't take any criticism. They can't take looking in the mirror and seeing what they really are. And seeing what you really are isn't like, oh my God, I'm getting depressed and I'm worthless, I'm just going to give up. Like so many people are like that. No, it's okay, I can get better, I can improve. And the heartfulness meditation with the transmission, the cleaning, does that for people. And the reason I'm saying this is because there's a solution, but most people aren't reaching up and finding it. There's a way to deal with the suckiness, right? Because if we're going to advance technologically or any other way, at the same time we're getting worse as human beings, then that's a real problem. I mean, it's a real problem just having what we have now, but we're advancing in our ability to do damage, right? And, we suck collectively. And that's being demonstrated on a daily basis. I mean, I can make a video like this every day if I want. It's just, what's the point, right? Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.